Hey folks, John Cantera here, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, and welcome to our second season of Stop the Scam, episode 50 here. We are so glad to be coming at you for our start of our second year. This has been a very wild ride for Kate and I. We also have with us as a guest, Claudia, the connector. Claudia, good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
It is always great to have you out here. I've got to fix this. Okay. One of the things you got to love about live shows, there's always something that throws everything off. I've tried doing Insta, and I had a connection for it, and it's not working right now, so I had to drop it, and people can just watch it on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube or wherever the heck they are right now. But anyway, today we are going to be talking to Highway, and I'm so glad to have them out here today because God knows I've got a ton of questions for them. You know, not just being a fraud fighter, but also as a dispatcher, I've come across all kinds of issues trying to connect through Highway and to deal with a couple things. And as popular as Highway has gotten among the broker community, it's time for some serious discussions on how and why things happen the way they happen so that everyone is better prepared for dealing with it. So we do have a guest coming from Highway today who is going to help talk us through some of the things that they've been doing, and especially how their, I'll call it a meteoric rise in popularity over the course of the last year, especially as a fraud fighting platform. So before we get started into that, I would like to go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor, AccuBid Pro. Make sure, especially if you are a new carrier, understand your costs. Once you know your costs, then you have a much better chance for success. And it all starts with AccuBid Pro.
Do you know your cost per mile? Have you been hitting your profit margins? Do you struggle with bidding in a way that is both profitable and competitive? Would it be worth it to have all this information right in front of you? By calculating your cost per mile, AccuBid Pro helps you stay profitable in an industry still struggling to recover. In order to calculate your cost per mile, AccuBid Pro asks you questions about your business expenses. Our goal is to help you understand what you need to keep operating in order to keep up with the game and maintain your business. Enter your origin and destination, and we show you what you should bid based on your personal cost per mile in order to be profitable, even including a more detailed breakdown of each bid. Download the app today and get your 30-day free trial of AccuBid Pro, available on the App Store and Google Play. Bid smarter, bid faster, bid better with AccuBid Pro.
You know, another fun thing about live shows, I never ran the intro video. Oh, well, I'm not even going to bother with the intro video today. It's Monday, and it is a typical Monday for me. I don't know about the rest of y'all, especially you dispatchers out there. You know, I was stoked Friday afternoon. Kate, I swear, Friday I was on cloud nine because I had all of my carriers booked for today. I had no care in the world. I could have slept in today. Everything would have been fine. But wouldn't you know it, as soon as I wake up, everything fell to complete crap. Every single load I booked today got either canceled or had massive problems that led to a cancellation or something. It drove me insane. And now I got two carriers who are idle today. It was a rough day. How was yours?
I guess better than that. I didn't have that much to do, so that was cool. One of my guys is going out tomorrow, so I've just kind of been looking for something for him to take tomorrow. And then my other guy was on a partial that paid the partial paid $1.50 a mile. Okay, these are hot shots in case anybody's wondering, but his load that he took over the weekend paid $3.10 a mile. So it wasn't the worst thing in the world that we weren't able to find another partial, but so he's going to drop that in the morning and then trying to work out something for him to pick up afterwards.
Yeah, I don't have anything for tomorrow. I am going to be absolutely swamped the instant I roll out of bed at 5 in the morning. I'm just not looking forward to it. I really should be drinking right now. That's how painful this was. But there's someone who can help fix all this, and that is our guest today, is Michael Grace from Highway. Michael is the VP of Customer Risk Management, and we are so glad to have him here on the show. Michael, welcome to Stop the Scam.
Thanks for having me, John.
I'm so glad
Thanks
that you were
for
able to
joining
come
us,
out here.
Michael.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I've been waiting to do this particular show now for 2 months. And in that time, I've just been chomping at the bit to get a hold of somebody over there who would actually be willing to come out and talk to us on this. And I'm so glad that you and I have had a couple interactions now, working on a couple of fraud cases, and that you were able to finally come out and talk to us, because Highway has just absolutely exploded among brokers. Its popularity is almost unmatched. And the functionality is something that I know Claudia is constantly bragging about. She loves your platform, I think, more than she loves her man, but that's another story.
Now, that's not accurate.
Okay.
I love y'all, Michael, but not that much.
I'll be good.
Okay.
I'll be good. Michael, first off, why don't you tell us who you are, how you came to be working for Highway, what it is you do, and why is Highway so damn popular? So tell us a little bit about yourself.
No, thanks again, John. So I've had about 15 years of freight brokerage experience prior to coming on to Highway back in April of last year. And, my role is VP of Customer Risk Management. So, my team is we're monitoring all those daily fraud identity alerts that are coming in left and right throughout the day, throughout the weekends, nonstop. The brokerage community is under constant attack from these cyber criminals that want to steal cargo and reroute it, and leave the broker holding the bag. And our primary goal at Highway is to show everybody who the good guys are, and try to stop the bad guys as fast as we can, because they're constantly moving and switching around from one MC to another to another, and they're all connected on the back end. So we're just trying to do our best for our large customer base to protect every load that they are moving. But yeah, thanks again for having me.
So let's talk about Highway. What is it that makes Highway so unique among the other vetting platforms that exist?
Highway, we're just obsessed with the truth, right? We just want the truth. I've been in Claudia's shoes before. You just don't know the real story behind everybody. And we take a real KYC approach, know your customer approach. Our founder Jordan, he started in the banking industry. Very sophisticated practices and procedures working at a bank versus working in the freight industry. If I want to walk into a bank and I need $200,000 in a loan, they're going to ask me a few questions, right? Like, where do you work? Where do you live? What do you do? How long have you been in business? Are you married? What they're going to ask me a lot of questions, right? If I'm a motor carrier and I'm a freight broker, the average, load for a freight broker, most freight brokers are on the hook $100,000 a load. Some more, some less. That's probably the average. That's the industry standard, is $100,000. Mm-hmm. If I walk into a bank asking for $100,000, I'm still going to get that same amount of questions, right? So our goal is to really know these carriers, who's logging in, where are they sitting, are they a dispatcher, are they a motor carrier, or are they somebody pretending to be a dispatcher or a motor carrier? So that's what we're looking at, and that's what we care about, to make sure we know who this person is, we know what kind of equipment they have, and we actually know, can they really haul this load? Because a lot of times brokers didn't have the visibility into the equipment types and the everything else that we're looking at, the inspections, the COI, the recent ELD pings, VIN level details, all that was not available, prior to Highway coming out, all in one package. So what we've done is we've just made it as simple as possible, and it works. And we have over 700 broker customers. We have a very large network effect. If one person lets us know about something, the other 700 people know about what just happened, and will automatically prevent that bad actor from getting in their network. So it's a powerful tool. It's very easy to use, and we've had a lot of good feedback.
Okay, so now I want to go ahead and hit you with some tough questions on things that I deal with. I deal with fraud all the time. You and I have had a couple of engagements together. A lot of the things that we deal with when I need to come to somebody like you is usually because somebody has been impersonated or something else is going on that we're in the middle of investigating. Usually involving either a stolen cargo or someone found out that they had a double brokered load or whatever. I often get calls from guys who found out that their emails have been hacked and they're trying to determine the extent of the damage and whatnot. And then there are reports that end up showing up on Highway. So starting off with that, how does the reporting system work for Highway? Most people are very familiar with Carrier 411 and the Freight Guard report. How do Highway reports relate?
Yeah, in a very similar fashion, right? Like brokers have the ability to report carriers, and we're reporting for the bad stuff, like double brokering. Stolen assets is obviously the number one. Identity theft, it's its own separate category, but it's still the number one identity alert that we see on a daily basis, because like the brokerage community is under constant attack of these guys manipulating and stealing emails. Every other minute there's a new one that comes through, right? So identity theft is the top one, but carriers should not be punished if they're a victim of identity theft. So we classify those a little bit differently versus like a stolen assets or a double brokering or a trailer misuse or a back solicitation or one of those, right? Like those are bad, but like an identity theft where the carrier is a victim and somebody's using his name in a bad way, like we want to protect the carrier as best we can. So if you're a motor carrier and you sign up with Highway, we're going to monitor FMCSA changes daily, and if your phone or email has been changed by the FMCSA and you're signed up with Highway and you're a motor carrier, we're going to email you as soon as we detect that change and be like, motor carrier, did you change this, or was this a scammer in a foreign country?
Now you say signed up with Highway. Forgive me for interrupting. You say you signed up with Highway. Does that mean that they are set up and they have a profile that exists on Highway? Not that they're paying for a service.
They're not paying. Carriers will never pay a dime working with Highway. We don't charge carriers. Okay. But if they are a broker, or like if they're set up with a broker at some point in time and have a verified user, that's who I'm referring to.
And those alerts that only goes to the main email address for the carrier, or does it also carry through any email address that's associated?
So they go with the verified user email that we have on file with the motor carrier, not the FMCSA email, which could have been hacked.
Could have been hacked, this right?
Example, it's a potential hack, but not always. But a lot of times it is. So we like to be proactive as possible. We want to protect the carriers as best we can. We have a new carrier product right now in beta. We've got a couple hundred people using it. We should have something very soon where, carriers are able to look up brokers, see if they have reports on them, and feel confident that they know they're going to take a load from a broker and they're actually going to get paid, and they're not going to have to call, one of those scumbag collections agencies and southern Mississippi.
Oh, come on! Don't stab me in the heart. I actually run a collections company. But
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
No. I know that. I'm very different compared to the other collections agents out there. I actually do have a bond. I actually do have a license. So I mean, I do it properly. But
Claudia knows who I'm talking about.
I know exactly what he's talking about.
Well, I'm sure. I'm sure. My competitors are unbelievably aggressive, and I have had so much better luck by just talking to people, just being reasonable with them, and they're usually reasonable right back. But that is just me. I'm so sorry. I digress. Back to you, Michael. I'm sorry.
Michael, I think one thing that you made a point of saying that I wasn't even aware of was that if there's a change in FMCSA that you all brought to the carrier, we, as everybody here, like I talk about, our company, I work for General Transportation. We have a brokerage side. That's the brokerage side, but we do have an asset carrier side that, that I work on the same level of for that side. And so, we've only had one change since we came over to Highway, and that was quite some time ago. We literally just moved buildings, and it's been almost 2 years now. So I wasn't aware of that, but I think that's great. And I think that's one of the things that people don't recognize, that carriers need to be on the lookout for, even carriers who aren't necessarily out looking at the load boards, right? So if I'm an owner operator and I've got a dedicated, there are some small owner operators, they have a very dedicated route and they've got regular customers, but they've got a very clean MC. They've got great information out there. And so they are also targets, especially if they're not constantly monitoring that information. They could have their name run through the mud and not even realize it. So Michael, I think it's great that you guys are reaching out to those that have that set up to be able to do that. That's great information to know, and appreciate that on behalf of other carriers out and on the brokerage side as well. Because if a carrier doesn't know, that's happening, then they don't know what to do to safeguard or to try to recuperate or get back from that. So that's great information to have, and appreciate that Highway's doing that. And I did get signed up for the beta of the carrier side, but I haven't quite gotten in and messed with it a lot. I tried to do it this morning, but then I got, of course, distracted with risk management and vetting carriers for the brokerage side. So, I hopped off.
We're fine tuning it. We're fine tuning it before we get it on the road.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's great.
And it's crazy. Like you'll walk in. I'll walk in Monday morning, and there'll be, we'll just get every other carrier is calling in to report that FMCSA change email that you sent us, completely not us. And there'll be 100, 200, 400 at a time. Yeah. And they'll do just chunks of them over the weekend. And it's nuts. And these carriers have no idea. So it's something that we take very seriously, and want to make sure everyone's protected. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I've only known of a couple platforms that are monitoring it to that level, and I'm glad that Highway is, especially as popular as Highway is getting. I would love to know if me as a dispatcher were able to get onto your beta to check that out. Only because I book loads with brokers all the time. There are questionable brokers out there, and I would say once or twice a day, I'm running a deep dive on a broker for whatever reason. Something unusual I see on DAT or Truck Stop causes me to throw a flag. It'd be great if I had some kind of access. Would dispatchers have this kind of access to this? To the program?
Good question. Good question. I don't see why they shouldn't. But no, I'll definitely bring that up, and hopefully we can make that happen, John. So
I would greatly appreciate that. Yeah. And I know there are bad dispatch services out there, so I'm assuming that you're doing some kind of vetting before you even grant any of this access. Is that
we are, and all new users are going to go through our identity proofing, identity verification. So you're going to take the selfie, you're going to scan your government form of ID, and if you don't get through, see yourself out. So
is it a U.S. government issued ID only?
If you want to cut off half, or I'd say more than half of the dispatcher and carrier, back end of every carrier.
Mm-hmm.
I would say probably every other carrier in the United States has, a friend or family member or dispatcher or some kind of back office support in a foreign
Mm-hmm.
country. They just do. So like,
True.
we accept all forms of ID. Doesn't matter what country you're in. The platform that we use, we're going to look at all forms of government ID to prove they're an authorized dispatcher, because people are allowed to outsource to other countries, and we get that, and we want to make sure that that person who they say they are is who they say they are. Not Superman or Batman is signing up as a user. Those days are over.
Claudia, you look like you want to say something.
I'm gonna wait.
You're gonna hold off on that one. Must be
man.
No, I was okay. So I was just gonna say that early on when we came on, one of the things that we were looking at, and I think that Highway is responding well to, is the Michael, I don't know what the technical word that you guys call it, but where essentially where legitimate call centers are, like in some of the options. I mean, look, like we all know that Philippines and Panama and Colombia and like other places in Eastern Europe have legitimate like dispatching back office services. And one of the things that I think Highway was great to respond to early on was I don't know what you call it, Michael, when you saw that those are legitimate IP addresses, that those are coming from, you made it where it didn't like do a thing.
Yeah, like we'll like whitelist an IP address
Right.
or a phone number, physical address. There's certain things where there's going to have a lot of overlapping noise where it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
We don't see a lot of value in that. Or like a random truck stop in Birmingham, Alabama might be whitelisted, right? Like we understand that people are going to hop on the same Wi-Fi, or a Starbucks in Atlanta. Like everybody is going to there's going to be more than one person logging in from that location, and we get that. So, thank you for bringing that up, because a lot of times it's confusing, and people don't know why we associate everybody. But,
right.
Yeah, I want to remind everyone real quick, everyone who's watching, if you have questions for Michael, don't be afraid to go ahead and throw it up in the comments, so we can go ahead and try to get those addressed while we still have them with us. We still got another 40 minutes or so, but I wanted to make sure that got out there. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Claudia. You're about to say something.
That's what I think is great about Highway, is that as I've told Michael when I met him in person somewhere, like I'm pretty confident that that the team is like, oh man, here's another Claudia. But early on, like I was very much into and I still do say like, hey, when we first came on Highway, we would do not use a carrier. There wasn't a place to put why. So if I was not using a carrier that wasn't already in my system because I was aware of something else that happened with them to try to prevent them in my system, I didn't have a way to say what. And it was just one of the things early on that we said, hey, can we do this? And lo and behold, not much longer, there was a button and there was a little box where we could put in there and make notes about that. And I just appreciate that Highway has been remarkably responsive to us within some of those things. And I think that I understand change is hard. It was for us. I'm not gonna. It was a tough sell sometimes when we were first onboarding, getting carriers or getting even my team, not just carriers, to understand like what we were doing, especially when it wasn't like massive across the industry that people were using Highway yet, and understanding what rules are set by the brokerage. And sometimes not everybody knows. It depends on what level of the brokerage, like in our company, there's only 2 people that are allowed to do overrides in the system, and I'm one of them. And so if anybody else wants to, they have to come through myself or my colleague. And so they might not know all of the details of those things, but understanding like what those rules are for, understanding why we do those, what particular things you're looking for within a certain load, right? Hey, I may approve that carrier for a load of pallets, that's going, 80 miles, but I don't want to approve that carrier for an over the road, for a long Florida to, Washington team load of high value products. So there are different levels that you can look at. And Michael, I don't know if you consider talking about the classifications and what those kind of maybe look like differently within brokerages, and how, I only know what our rules are, so I don't really know how other people kind of look at what they would do for different classifications.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Claudia. And, we take feedback all the time, and we appreciate the feedback because we just want to make the product better. So there's a process of, customer has a request. We're going to, take it to our product team. We're going to log it. We're going to take it to the product team, and they're going to see, like, yeah, that makes sense. Why wouldn't we do that? Let's put it on the roadmap, and we'll get it queued up. Or maybe that doesn't make sense because it only helps one person with their job. It takes 5 minutes a day. But we really appreciate the feedback in the comments because we want to make it as easy to use and the best in the industry. As far as your other question on classifications, there are a million different classifications that a broker can do. But typically, if I'm using the highway for the first time, the broker is going to set all their classifications. But generally speaking, you're going to have a general freight classification. That's going to be for your low value, pallet only freight, or loads of bottled water loads, something low value, under 100,000. Not a targeted commodity, but the bar is still a little bit low, right? So maybe the authority requirement is only going to be 3 months in the general freight classification, where if you do a high value classification, you're going to require $250,000 of cargo insurance, 2 years of authority, a 10 power unit truck minimum, ELD connected. You might not care about the ELD on a little guy, right? For loads of pallets, it's not worth. He might be ELD exempt, running a pre-2000 truck, because now he can only haul empty pallets because his truck is so old. And then you might have a reefer classification. So you need to make sure they have reefer breakdown, or you're running power only, and you need to make sure they have trailer interchange or non-owned auto coverage. Or you're a car hauler, and you want to make sure that they have the right insurance to haul automobiles. Or you're a sprinter carrier, and you don't care about the ELD rule. All you care about is if they have a pulse, an active DOT, and maybe a sprinter van VIN number on the COI. Then you're good, right? There's different levels of pain for what kind of load you're hauling. But it's, we're all about low level compliance. We want to make sure the right truck is moving the right load, and that right truck shouldn't see loads that they're not qualified for. Right.
So no, go ahead, Claudia, please.
I think one of the things that I didn't understand that maybe is a little more clear now. I mean, it certainly is to me, but for anyone who, for any on the brokerage side who are considering or who have or going to make the change over to highway, is one thing to know is that the carrier doesn't have to pass all of those classifications in order to be able to move a general freight load. I think that was something that I didn't understand early on. And so I was trying to make my carriers be able to be at the max of all of the overrides, and they didn't need to be. I literally only needed to do one override to get them in the general freight. And so those are I still run across carriers that early on I had put a lot of different, so I'm going through and removing those now, but that's something that I think sometimes people don't necessarily know on the front end. If you're trying to book a load for general freight, you don't have to override that carrier for all the things. Don't worry about that. Just what you need within that classification.
Yeah, the partial pass throws a lot of people off, but that just means they're hitting at least one of your, 1 to 20 classifications you have set up, depending on how many you have.
Yeah.
It's a good call out. Thank you.
And for next time.
Michael, I see John's muted, so I'll just kind of go ahead and sorry about this, but one of the things, like we talk about classifications, I know early on, and I believe kind of it still is the case now, when as I've spoken pretty often about DOT carriers, sprinter vans, box trucks, they are some of our hardest to vet because of the lack of inspections in those type of vehicles, or not traveling that far, only being in the state, DOT. And I know that we have kind of done some different things for us personally. Is there anything that you guys are necessarily looking at specifically to try to assist with that? I'm not trying to. I guess I'm putting you on the spot. I'm not trying to spotlight you, but
you were jumping all over because you're hitting all the things that I like to talk about, especially since I dispatch for non-CDL equipment. So
no, I mean, like the example we looked at earlier, guy has a Ram 3500 and a flatbed trailer, right? He's not going to have inspections. Like DOT isn't going to be on him. Like he's going to be okay, right? But you see the equipment in the profile. It's a new truck. It's a new trailer. Like the story adds up, right? The guy, I don't know where the guy's based out of, but like there's other ways to verify who that person is, right? If you want to send them a separate tracking link to his cell phone, you can do that. You're obviously only going to put a load on it that fits on the equipment type that he has, right?
Right.
So things like that, you should be able to, have him take a selfie, use, hit up text locate, like have him get his location, his information, and you should be good. Like have the shipper, hey, it's a 2023 Dodge Ram, 3500 with this license plate. We'll give you the license plate in highway. That's really underutilized a lot. If we just told shippers, like we have all the VINs, like this VIN with this license plate is going to pick up the load. Don't load another tractor that doesn't have this plate on it, because so many people are replacarding the trucks with the carrier name and putting a fake license plate on it when it's, a Volvo shows up when it should have been a Freightliner. And, if we just check those little simple things like make, model, year, license plate, like we could reduce stolen loads by a lot. But, that's going to take the brokers being more proactive on giving the shippers that information, and the shippers being able to enforce that at the check-in and at the dock level. And there's always that disconnect right there. And
so
we got to do something to fix that.
We've had brokers argue that they wouldn't ask their customers to check the identity of a tractor trailer or anything because I don't really understand the sentiment behind it, but they wouldn't ask because they know that their customers don't want to do it. Seems like they don't want to agitate them or have them do more or something. So, but in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, but that could literally save their freight. That could save them a ton of money one day.
100%, Kate.
See, my question is for warehouses out there is where's the liability lie? Because once someone shows up for a pickup, and if it's loaded onto the wrong truck, who's the one that takes the blame for that? The broker's been the one that's been taking the blame for that. Why isn't the warehouses being held more accountable for making mistakes?
Yeah, agree, John. And you always got to be in CYA mode if you're a freight broker. And if I'm a freight broker, I'm going to tell them the license plate, the year, the make, the model, and the truck number and the tractor number. They're going to know everything about that truck when it pulls up. And then if I send that in an email and say, you only load this truck and this driver, and they load some random random guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say I didn't tell you to load that random guy.
Mm-hmm.
like I'm gonna wash my hands of that, and I'm gonna move on with my day. You might lose that customer, but you're not gonna be on the hook for the cargo theft that just occurred because of the shipper's negligence, in my opinion.
Yeah, when I was a broker for CRST, I always put in my BOLs, only load the carrier listed. Anything different, please call. And thankfully, I've never had anything lost or stolen, but I wasn't a broker for very long, so I guess and being with a larger group, many people didn't target me, thank God. But what I really feel for are the new brokers, because the new brokers seem to be constant targets. New carriers are constant targets. One of the things that I see is people who have public domain email addresses are a huge problem. Do you have a portion of clients who actually use public domain email addresses? I'm not sure of many brokers who do.
I mean, not really.
Very much at all? Not really?
I mean, most brokers we have use their own URL.
When you have a complaint that comes in about a cargo or some kind of issue that takes place, do you go back and look at that carrier's information and look at things like, do they have their own email domain? Are they using a Gmail address or anything like that? It's always one of the things that I'm always asking for brokers to look at before they make accusations of a bad actor.
Like if the reported, phone and email don't match the carrier's phone and email, obviously they're not typically, responsible for theft. That's more of an identity theft scenario rather than like
we say obviously, but I can count on, both hands here in the last week how many brokers did not pay attention to whether or not an email address matched what anyone else's was. I mean, as a dispatcher, I'm a legitimate company. I've got my own email domain. Okay. Yep. And I use my email domain when I'm booking loads for my other clients. And my other clients almost all use Gmail or something like that. But I feel really nervous because I can only count on one hand last week how many brokers verified whether or not I was a dispatcher for that carrier because my email domain was different from theirs. And that to me is a big problem. Because you may be providing that information, who all is valid, but if they're not going to matching email addresses, they're really not using
it's the oldest trick in the book. I mean, they are so successful. These scammers are so successful of doing the same thing over and over again to a new person. Like that scheme is going to continue to go on for the rest of our lives, right? Like you're going to fake an email, you're going to call inbound from a phone number that's not been verified, or they're going to manipulate the caller ID so that inbound phone call is showing the motor carrier's phone number, right? People have that ability to alter that caller ID. It happens all the time. We have a product that's called Highway for VoIP. It literally, if your phone number has been reported for fraud, if you've been reported with an identity theft alert, something is wrong, we take the VoIP phone numbers and we reroute them elsewhere. Like if you're reported for fraud, we route you to an endless hold pattern where you're never going to talk to anybody in carrier sales, right? And if you're like a yellow flag and we haven't verified you, you're going to go talk to like Claudia. And Claudia is going to ask you some questions, and she's going to like send you a connect invite, and you're going to go through our identity engine. But if you're just somebody who's been reported repeatedly for theft, like you're not going to be a target to that broker who has Highway for VoIP, which the inbound phone call is a very, very strong vector, attack vector that we see on a daily basis. The email, the constant emails that we're getting last year, we had over 1 million attempts and emails with our broker clients. 1 million. Like these aren't separate identity alerts. Like if you use our Outlook plugin or our Gmail plugin, we're capturing every time a fraudster is making contact with the broker. It may not be an identity alert, but we've captured that bad person has emailed that broker, and we're tallying it up. It was over 1 million different attempts last year.
Were they using all phishing attempts?
Yeah, phishing attempts.
Mhm.
These are, the I is an L or the 0 is an O. Just simple, small email changes that, people get when they're not paying attention to.
Yeah. Michael, one thing that you mentioned that I don't know that we've necessarily spoken directly about here is that when a carrier is reported to highway, and I try to be very careful if I'm going to reach out and say, hey, this carrier is a bad actor. Like I will, I work with some people that work for you, and I'll say, hey, so and so. There's something weird going on with this carrier. I'm not sure what it is. I had something happen, but I haven't figured out yet if they're involved. And your team has been great to work with me because you guys have visibility on things that I can't see, and to be clear, like as with any tech, you guys have visibility on the backside of the login things and things that you're seeing, that be able to say like, oh yes, it does look like that carrier had always logged in from like Texas. And then all of a sudden the day before your load went missing, there was a login from, the other side of the world. And so I appreciate that you guys are willing to do that. And that whenever a carrier does report, that often like it will show pending investigation. So, and it's not like immediately like these people are terrible. It's we're pending an investigation about this. And then when that happens, then you do the investigation. You do the work to say, these are the documents that were provided. This was the fraudulent email that was used, and that kind of thing. And then sometimes it's still kind of like, well, like we're still not really sure how involved they are. And then your team will, have them go back through to verify who they are and whatever they need to do on that side. My thing is always like, if the carrier is willing to do the work to show me who they are, I will work with them as far as, if it's a pre-LD truck. I don't love them, but I get it, no inspections. I get it. Sometimes those things happen, but the carrier's got to be able to do the work. But I appreciate that you guys are willing to do that on your side, because I'm comfortable to know that if I see a report on highway, like something happened with a carrier, I'm pretty doggone confident of what that is and know, what steps I need to take or not take, with that carrier. So I appreciate that. And I don't know that everybody knows that, because in other platforms that there are others that do the investigation as well, but there are some that are just like very much, hey, this was a report out there and it's up to you and that person to handle that outside of us. And I appreciate that you guys, like I said, are willing to do the work and see those things. And I think that really helps us. I think it prevents us from having like petty. Reports.
like if you want to go trash a carrier, like do that elsewhere. I don't care about
carrier 411.
Darren's a great guy. I love Darren. He has a great product. I don't say anything bad about 401, but like don't that. This isn't the spot to trash a carrier. Like I would probably say 25% of the reports that get on here are, a pissed off 23-year-old whose $1,000 GP load just fell off Monday morning after he's been partying all weekend, right? He's mad. He's writing up a pissed off report. He's like, screw this guy. I'm going to post it. Like, no, like we're putting that away. I'm going to ignore it. It's myself and my team. We review every single one in very close detail. And if it smells funny or it's stupid or it's just like some of the ones that come through, you just have to laugh at and you ignore them. But like, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to protect everyone's cargo, and we're focusing on fraud and double brokering and MC sales and things that matter. Like, I don't care if you're arguing over a TONU like fee,
right?
Or a demurrage fee on a dray load. Like get out of here. Load's not stolen. Like, get out of here.
Well, there have to be a lot of carriers who are happy to hear that, like my dogs are. Especially since a lot of carriers, I hate to say this, okay, there are carriers, especially over the course of the last year, who expressed a great deal of distrust with Highway, whether it's because your report system is sometimes very difficult for them to navigate. It's impossible for a carrier to know who has issued a report on them. Let's start with that one. If a carrier does get a report and they don't know what the heck's going on, they get a report for whatever it's called, double brokering. But they know they've never done it, and they have no idea who the heck even tried to put them up for it. Is there a way for them to learn that? What's the process for a carrier to take to try to clear their name if they've got an issue?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just have them email us, service at gohighway.com. We'll take a look at it. We'll probably get escalated to my team. We'll take a look at it. We'll investigate. And if, we'll compare notes with the broker. And, typically it's, there are a couple that slip in that maybe shouldn't be posted, but like we keep a pretty tight ship on that. We're not letting crap in, and
that's what makes all the difference.
Well, I'll entertain it. I'm not going to entertain all of them. When you have when you make the same mistake over and over again, and you have your attorney call me, I'm going to I love talking to carriers' attorneys, because I'm going to talk to them all day. And then that carrier is going to wish he had never called that attorney when he bills them, $500 an hour. But I will tell him everything he wants to know about that carrier and what they did. And, if our customer was wrong, I'll give that information to our customer, and we'll make a decision. Hey, do you want to keep this report up? He might sue you. I don't have to worry about that. It's the customer, it's the broker's report. It's not my report. We don't report people. We just make sure that when they report people, it is as accurate as possible. But we'll make things right.
At least you have a process, and that's something that I know a lot of carriers are very happy to hear. Now, the other issue that I wanted to bring up was the ELD connection. I have heard several carriers sit there and say it's an invasion of their privacy, and I'm sure you've heard this complaint before. What is the whole purpose behind the ELD connection? Why did Highway go that direction? Yeah,
so we're all, like I said earlier on the call, we're obsessed with the truth, right? We want to know, does this carrier really have the equipment needed to haul this load? Or do they really have trucks on the road? What if they don't have inspections, but they're telling the broker that they have trucks, and the broker's unsure, and the broker doesn't want to roll the dice on a carrier that doesn't have inspections to haul an important load for a customer that requires inspection? You know what I mean? It's carriers that connect their ELD, and a lot of brokers require that carrier will connect their ELD, have just a better overall relationship together. They're both more successful because the broker has confidence that truck is on the road and they're actually using their equipment. It's not being double brokered. From a vicarious liability or a negligent hiring standpoint, when the broker is going above and beyond the industry standard to prove that I am hiring somebody who's driving that truck, and they're not trying to double broker it to somebody for $1,000 profit, that's good for the broker. The brokers they're more protected by going above and beyond the industry standard to show everybody that they're hiring the right people, that they're not hiring a scammer. It's not a random dispatcher and triple brokering a loadout, right? It's truck is there, you can see it, and we're good to go.
What about the accusation that has surfaced from time to time that Highway is selling truck position data to brokerages for the purposes of market manipulation? Any truth to that in any way, shape, or form?
Zero truth to that. Highway has no desire to engage in anything like that, right? We care about fraud and fraud prevention. Like, we're not a lead board. We're not making profits off the transactions on a per load basis. Like, we don't do that. That's not our business. Other people do that. That's just simply not true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's no way that a broker can have a global map that shows every truck that's out there across the country to determine concentrations in specific markets.
Well, I know other people that do that right now, that aggregate all of it in one map. We don't do that.
But Highway does not do that. Okay,
we don't do
folks,
that.
Carriers, I want you to hear that and know that here. Okay, we just had an executive from Highway sit there and tell us they do not sit there and sell the data for positioning purposes, so brokers can manipulate markets. Okay, so there we go.
Absolutely.
I wanted to quash that one while we had the chance. I know you don't do that, but I had to at least get you to say that.
Hey,
so
hand on the Bible. We don't do that. I know you can't see my hand.
Your hand disappeared into the wall. You don't have a hand. What the heck? No, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to ask that question, because I have had many carriers talk to me complaining about that.
Yeah, and we want to be as transparent as possible. And for all the carriers that are listening right now, and you have questions that were not answered, like service.highway.com, you can check out, everything there is for carrier FAQs there. Learn about our ELDs, best practices for preventing fraud, for being a carrier, how you update your insurance with Highway, how you connect your ELD to, work with better brokers that are actually going to pay you. And then pretty soon you're going to have the option to have that carrier portals will be opened up in a few weeks. All carriers are going to have access to it. And then, when that broker, when he does one dirty to you, you're going to be able to report him. It's not going to be a one-way street. Carriers need a voice. We're going to give them a bigger voice to report the bad brokers. You don't want to work with bad brokers, just like carriers don't want to work with bad brokers. So let's get them reported and shine the light on some bad brokers too.
So that's a very powerful tool, and I know Darren is trying to put something like that together. I know he plans to do that with his next major update sometime in the next. I don't know. He said it's going to be this quarter sometime. But I'm very skeptical about some of his motives. But from what I'm hearing from you guys, you pretty much don't have a motive other than being able to provide information. And that's something that is refreshing to hear in this industry, at least from a carrier standpoint, because I don't think anybody else has that opportunity. I think Carrier Assure has offered it at one point, but even still, there are strings attached to being able to try to issue reports there. Other than doing a Google review or a DAT review, carriers don't have really anything else to use. This is a good step forward, and I applaud Highway for making that step.
No, we appreciate it, and they definitely deserve something better than they have now, which isn't much.
Of course, expect a lot of revenge attacks to start flowing through. I imagine you're going to be sorting through that kind of mess just as much as you sort through the mess that comes from frustrated brokers too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that go live. So
I wonder how many people you're going to have to hire to help police that.
There might be a new spot opening soon. But
Michael, this has been great. I think that there's a lot of things that people are curious about as far as and I don't want to hold you because I know our time is running down. I just I encourage anybody who has questions about Highway to whether or not you're a broker or a carrier, reach out to the team there. Is the email the same, Michael? It's service for if a broker has a question, or it's service if a carrier has. I know there's a 906 Highway. I know that phone number. I have it.
Yeah.
To call and I've done that before with
Yeah,
carriers.
and if you're a broker or you're a carrier, if you have a question, just email me and I'll route you in the right direction. My email is michael.grace, GRACE, @highway.com. Happy to answer any questions about our call this afternoon and get you in the right hands if you contact me.
And anyone who has questions like regarding, and I know sometimes it's, Michael, I'll just say, like, sometimes people don't just want to ask Highway directly. And John has my information. If someone's considering onboarding with Highway or everything, I guess shouldn't like Highway, Michael, I'm not trying to be rude in saying that, but if somebody wants to reach out to me, I'm happy to talk to you about my experience with Highway. We've been with them for almost 2 years now, and we've gone back and forth and they've listened. But again, like, I'm happy to tell you, just discuss what that's like onboarding and what that is. So by all means, like, please reach out. Happy to try to answer any questions that I can. And of course, loop in the team if it's something that, I can't, if you're not just saying like, hey, as a user, what is this question? Try to get you to the right person there at the team to do that, because bless all of their souls, almost everybody at headquarters probably has seen my email once or twice already. So thanks for that.
I think Claudia is the biggest cheerleader for Highway that I've come across, and I know of a lot of brokers who love your platform. Do you have her testimonial on your website yet?
If we don't yet, we'll get it there soon. We're gonna have a new website soon. So Claudia, I'll get with you offline. We'll make something.
Well, I just the thing is, like, and I've said this before, and I know we're winding, but there are different risk appetites for every broker out there. There are things that large brokerages can do that my brokerage just simply cannot absorb. Everyone has their own level of risk. And that's why I think sometimes it's confusing for carriers who will say, well, I onboarded with this carrier with Highway or this broker with Highway. Why can't I onboard with you with Highway? Well, we all have different rules, and those are all set by us. So understand that brokers are the ones who set those rules. So we set our own rules. So it's up to us what those rules are, what can be overridden and what cannot be overridden. And that's all internal on the brokerage side. So now I may say, hey, I need that COI to go through Highway or something along those lines first. But they've got people there to support and help make those things happen. But the rules are set by the broker. Highway doesn't do that. Highway doesn't do that, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that, because that is a big misconception. They're always blaming us for, Highway's blocking us. No. We give the brokers the menu. They can check, what meal they're going to have on rules like that. That's totally up to the broker. But thank you very much for mentioning that, Claudia. Like, the only thing they would need from us is probably just a certificate of insurance, and we have 98% of those, maybe 99% of those already on file.
Yeah, and we want them to come directly from the insurance agency. Please.
Yeah, we don't accept them unless they're directly from the insurance agency.
Yeah.
So
I think that's every one of the major platforms by now are doing that, and that's a good thing, because there's a lot of the fraud that's out there includes fraudulent COIs. We've come across
it is super easy to edit one of those things.
Yeah. And we do, that's why we don't accept them from that. That's why Highway doesn't accept them from that. And they listen too. Like, once in a while something does come through and you're like, that doesn't make any sense. Or, that carrier is cargo insurance since they onboard Highway. Cargo insurance is no longer, an policy. And we have a very good like this. We'll send something to is Bill still there, Michael? Bill
yeah,
can't think of his last name. The insurance team over there, hey, listen, there's something wonky with this, or they've changed policies, so they don't ping as not having insurance because they've changed, but they haven't updated the new one. So there are just things out there. Once in a while, you run across something like that, and the team is great to work with us on those kind of things, and we want to give the information back. If you as a broker see something doesn't look right, like, reach out to the team and let them know, because they can't help other brokers if we don't help each other. I think that's something that's very It's unfortunate in our community. We don't want to say like, oh, I had a load double brokered. I received a double broker load as a carrier, because you don't want to be embarrassed and say to your customers that happened, or you don't want to put out there that happened. But you don't have to blast it to the world, but like talk internally, like let others in the industry, know that can help show to help combat that. So it'd be great if people would do that. So anyway, thank you. I'm going to be quiet now, but thanks so much for all of your help in talking, Michael. I appreciate you.
Well, we're going to make Claudia a guest host from now on, anytime she's on. So we're going to have you set up as our alternate whenever Kate's not feeling well or I'm not feeling well. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to remember that. Anyway, Michael, I've got one more question to ask you. What is the one piece of advice that you would offer to first brokers and otherwise carriers when it comes to your role dealing with risk management? What do you want them to know?
Trust nobody. It is probably goes on both sides. Carriers don't trust the brokers you're working for unless they're legitimate brokers. Same goes the other way. Like KYC, know your customer, know your carrier, know who you're working with, and don't buy the cheapest truck. Don't take the highest paying load. It goes both ways. You see carriers and brokers making the same mistakes for the same reason. They want to make the most money, and it's a very fast paced business that we operate in, and there's a lot of hands involved. So be careful, do your due diligence, and know who you're working with. Yeah.
Fantastic. Claudia, you got any parting shots as our new guest host?
Yeah, I think I've had enough talking, so I'll be quiet. Thank you, John.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and pause here for one quick second. We do have to go ahead and share some love to our sponsor, AccuBid Pro. Make sure you know your costs. Knowing your costs is the first step to profitability, and that starts with AccuBid Pro.
Do you know your cost per mile? Have you been hitting your profit margins? Do you struggle with bidding in a way that is both profitable and competitive? Would it be worth it to have all this information right in front of you? By calculating your cost per mile, AccuBid Pro helps you stay profitable in an industry still struggling to recover. In order to calculate your cost per mile, AccuBid Pro asks you questions about your business expenses. Our goal is to help you understand what you need to keep operating in order to keep up with the game and maintain your business. Enter your origin and destination, and we show you what you should bid based on your personal cost per mile in order to be profitable, even including a more detailed breakdown of each bid. Download the app today and get your 30-day free trial of AccuBid Pro, available on the App Store and Google Play. Bid smarter, bid faster, bid better with AccuBid Pro.
Okay, Kate, you got any parting shots here before we wrap it up?
Nope, but I do certainly appreciate having you, because Highway is definitely a big competitor, and tools used for onboarding and risk management and things like that. So it's super helpful to have you and be able to pick your brain.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Kate, Claudia, John. You want me back around too? We'll do it again.
Oh, absolutely. We definitely want to have you come back and chat with us. For those who need to be able to get a hold of Michael, throw his email back up on the screen one more time, michael.grace@highway.com. And if you need a reference for Highway, you can always hit up Claudia. Actually, Claudia, you told me that email address is no longer good. We'll have to get that updated with you at some point. I'll put it in the comments after the show. If no one else has anything, please make sure you remember that Stop the Scam is live every Monday, 5 p.m. Central, on all the Lounge Media Group social media networks. Please be sure you check us out, like and subscribe. If you need any help with an active double broker situation, or you are victim of another type of scam, you can always reach out to Kate at kprice@stopthescampodcast.com, or you can get a hold of me, the double broker bounty hunter, at jcantera@stopthescampodcast.com. Folks, stay safe out there. It's still wintertime. There's still a lot of snow and stuff out there. Please, for the love of God, be careful, because there's no cargo that's worth your life. And whatever you do, don't let scammers take you for a ride. We'll see you all again next week.